The WWE Draft is one of the most exciting innovations that the company has ever come up with. It is a night full of unpredictability. Your favorite stars could move brands, changing not only the complexion of the show that you watch every single week, but also the entire WWE. Ever since it was first introduced back in 2002, it has been one of WWE's most fun events. However, over the past decade, the draft has been devalued to the point where the results don't matter and WWE just don't care. And in this video, I'm going to examine why that is. Why has WWE taken the approach they have with the draft, not caring about the results, having talent just featured on whatever show makes sense at the time? And answer the big burning question, why the hell does WWE even continue to do it, even though they have no commitment to following those rules? I'm going to cover all that and much more right here in this video, so be sure to smash that thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. I'm Omer Q for Real Take Wrestling. Let's dive in. As I said before, ever since the WWE Draft was first introduced in 2002, it changed the game. The original draft extension where Ric Flair represented Raw and Vince McMahon represented SmackDown was a game-changing moment because it finally gave WWE a chance to create some competition within. The Monday Night Wars were over, WCW was out of business, and WWE no longer had any competition. The territories were gone, there was nothing pushing them to be better. So, in a stroke of genius, WWE came up with the idea to be their own competition, and it made all the sense in the world. They had two premier brands in Raw and SmackDown as their flagship shows, and the idea of pitting those shows against each other and increasing the value of each show by making specific stars exclusive to those shows was a pretty smart idea, and it really worked. The original brand extension was probably the best version of the draft that we had ever seen, because when Raw and SmackDown superstars were drafted to those brands, they stayed on those brands, and the idea that they would go on another show was actually made to feel special. By the time we got to 2005 and we finally got that big head-to-head matchup between Team Raw and Team SmackDown that people have been fantasy booking for 3 years, it was genuinely one of the most special stories that WWE told that entire year. And it speaks to the value of the draft. And the value the draft has is it makes those moments feel special. It creates that feeling that, oh my God, this is not supposed to happen. It's almost like WWE creates their own low-key forbidden door situation. And that was great. The draft became a mainstay, happening nearly every year, and a lottery system in 2004 was introduced where you had specific stars randomly selected to switch brands, adding more excitement instead of just having a complete refresh. It made it feel like NFL free agency, NBA free agency for that matter. It made it feel like these stars were being traded instead of just being assigned to brands, and it was used for fuel for storylines. Stars felt slighted when being picked in the lottery. They felt like they were being devalued, so they had a chip on their shoulder, and that was great. But by the time 2011 rolled around, a lot had changed in WWE. Raw was back to being the flagship show that everyone knew it to be, and SmackDown was given very little care. You still had a little bit of exclusivity when it came to the world champion and their storylines only developing on SmackDown, but for the rest of the roster, it didn't really matter what roster you were assigned to. WWE introduced the idea of super shows, and, well, Raw superstars were on SmackDown, SmackDown superstars were on Raw, and the draft was completely meaningless. It was just, at that point, doing it for the sake of doing it. And We will get to the main reason why in just a second. And after 2011, WWE did away with the draft completely for a couple of years, having superstars on both shows whenever it was most convenient. And it wasn't until 2016 when they had the big move for SmackDown to go live on Tuesday nights that we finally saw another brand extension. And in my view, this was fantastic. It brought back the feeling that Raw and SmackDown were two very separate brands. Raw was the show where you saw a lot of the big storylines develop. Meanwhile, SmackDown was the land of opportunity run by Bryan Danielson and Shane McMahon, a place where the stars of tomorrow were coming up and a place where you saw some really good wrestling. AJ Styles carried that brand and it felt different. It felt like they were planting their flags, and that's what was really cool about the 2016 year. It was, in my view, one of the best years that WWE had in all of the 2010s. And if you ask me, I thought the brand extension had a great deal to do with it. And we would have additional WWE drafts. There was another extension in 2019 when the Fox deal happened for SmackDown. But in years that would follow, the draft itself was becoming more and more watered down. And the reason was very similar to why things kind of fell apart in 2011. WWE did not really care for the brand exclusivity that made the draft special in the first place. Instead, they just kind of had stars on whatever show made sense. And again, there were some light rules to this where Roman was kind of SmackDown exclusive, but every now and then he would appear on Raw and it wasn't really a big deal. And the reason why this whole thing felt weird is because that feeling that Raw was its own show and its own kind of canon, its own kind of series, and SmackDown was its own kind of series was just lost. That's what made the draft special. And the main reason behind all of that was because for WWE, they find it easier to book talent when it's convenient to them on the shows that's most convenient. That is what it comes down to. So if you are booking Raw and you need Roman Reigns for that show, you're getting Roman Reigns for that show. You don't care about the exclusivity. You don't care about any of that. You're just caring about popping that rating. And that was the priority for WWE leading up to these massive TV deals that would follow. And you might ask yourself, well, then why would they still continue on with this idea of a draft even though they were never going to really follow it? And the answer to that's pretty simple, and that's because it would pop a rating. The WWE draft is always one of WWE's most successful shows of the year. It gets some of the highest ratings that we have ever seen. It engages fans in a different way. It has a lore that not many types of events that WWE has on TV has. And it is just a special feeling when you see that board light up and those picks come in. It feels like the NFL draft. It feels like the NBA draft. That's why these events in other sports have become spectacles upon themselves. So for WWE, the value is in having the draft as an event, not necessarily staying with it by the rules, because for them, the rules don't matter. You can write the show how you want. That's the beauty of professional wrestling. But the logic that gets lost when WWE has a draft and then doesn't follow it and just kind of makes up their own rules along the way, it kind of irks fans like me who love to see those rules in place, because to me, that is what made that original brand extension so special. That is what made these Raw and SmackDowns in the 2000s and even in 2016 feel so different, because it felt like Raw was its own show. And if you wanted to watch Raw, you could. And you could watch that as like a kind of like a canonized series separate from SmackDown. And by the time you did get Raw and SmackDown going head to head, it felt really cool. It felt like something that wasn't supposed to happen. It felt almost taboo, and it was dope. And that is what is lost in the current day with the way the WWE treats the draft. If WWE wants to fix it, I have one key thing they can do, and that is just stick to the rules. You can have a show a year or a couple of shows a year where Raw and SmackDown superstars go head to head and do that kind of thing. But other than that, make Raw and SmackDown their own shows. Make it feel special and follow your own rules. Will they do it? I don't know. Let me know in the comments, though, if you disagree or if you agree. What do you guys think about the WWE draft? Is it dope? Is it the funnest show of the year? Or is it just straight stinking hot garbage? Let me know in the comments section below. Also, be sure to smash that thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released.